Greetings, Shining Bulls and Shining Bears, and welcome to this, the 39th episode of the CRYPTO ASTROLOGY PODCAST. Please note that financial astrology, similar to technical analysis, is not 100%. I, Maya Raghavan, am not an influencer. I am not a financial advisor. Rather, I am a financial astrologer, using the planetary positions as data inputs in my analysis of the probable nature of price movements. I do not make your decisions for you. Your decisions are up to you. Shining Bull content is here to stimulate your own thought process as you make your own decisions relating to your own finances for yourself and by yourself. We are going to take a look at what this week holds for Bitcoin and Ether price. Before getting into the day-to-day regarding this week, here are the most important celestial factors that will be influencing us here on this earth plane. On Monday, Mars enters into Capricorn, his sign of exaltation. This is going to make Sun feel stronger. And I see it benefiting an upward trend this week, but wait for later. However, this upward trend is not going to be very straightforward. That's because on Tuesday, Sun's trine to Ketu creates a very strong drop, as I see it. If you have the Bitcoin 2024 predictions book, you can take a look at what I say about that. The drop that I see beginning Tuesday lasts into Wednesday, and then a very strong price rebound upward starts. On Friday, there is a new moon in Capricorn. I see that around this new moon, there is something really interesting happening related to banks' policies or policies towards banks. What happens this week relating to banks will have long-term effects into the future. Please note that the Bitcoin BTC 2024 predictions book is now available on shiningbull.com. This book gives several turning points per month when Bitcoin price will start moving in a given direction and is a valuable addition to any swing traders or day traders toolbox. 2. Bitcoin BTC 2024 predictions gives an added edge to investors, fund managers, and anyone interested in Bitcoin as an asset. The new book ETH BTC 2024 predictions for the ratio is also now available on shiningbull.com for those of you who trade the ratio. Now let's look a little bit more up close at the week ahead. I, the astrologer, live in Newfoundland, but I give the weekly predictions that I make on this podcast as per UTC time. Sunday, 4th February UTC, I see as up until the evening UTC when I see the direction reverses for traders. For Bitcoin, the numbers 38,555 and 37,858 are important lines that are likely to be broken through on Sunday UTC. For Ether, that line is 2168. Monday, 5th February UTC, I see the very early morning beginning down. But then starting in the morning all the way through to the onset of nighttime, there is a lot of upward potential, especially related to a statement made by administrators around midday that creates an upward news-driven move. Tuesday, 6th February UTC, I see a lot of volatile moves And then I see, so first a lot of volatile moves could be in and will be in either direction, including up. But then I see a strong drop initiating at night on Tuesday UTC when Moon starts trining Jupiter as Sun trines Ketu. Wednesday, 7th February UTC. I see the down move continuing until the afternoon when Moon starts transiting with Venus, which I see taking us thankfully back up. For traders, for Bitcoin, the numbers $43,882 USDT and 41,448 USDT are important lines that are likely to be broken on Wednesday. Because of my prediction about Wednesday, I would predict us breaking downward through one of these lines on Wednesday. And for Ether, those lines are 2391, 2233, and 2137 USDT. Could be any of these lines. Thursday, 8th February UTC and Friday, 9th February UTC, I see as strongly upward days. For traders, regarding Friday UTC, for Bitcoin, the number 48,969, the most recent high, can act as a resistance or as a support line. And for Ether, that number is 2717 USDT. Saturday, 10th February UTC, I see as quite crazy. And if you're a trader, you can get my signal service to see more details. And if you have traded with me in the past on my signals, then look in your email for a special gift offering. And then if you use it, you see more gifts actually. But anyway, but what I mentioned about actually anybody, new people too, I'm giving some special deals for my traders also. But anyway, what I mentioned about bank policies can come into play on the charts on Saturday. For traders, for Bitcoin, the number $41,448 USDT can act as a resistance or support line on Saturday UTC. And for Ether, there are two very significant such numbers. Again, I said resistance or support. And so for ETH, one of those lines is 2233 and the other is 2137. For more details on this, like I said, experienced traders can check out the trading signal service on shiningbull.com. Please read the disclaimer in the details section of this video below. So that was the weekly forecast for the week ahead in Bitcoin and Ether price. Next, some news from the past week, which will impact the future of crypto and of civilization. Crypto luminary and BitMEX co-founder Arthur Hayes wrote an article titled Yellen, as in Janet Yellen, her last name, or Talkin', which I am still reading as it's too interesting. I hope to, so Sunday is like a little bit of a break day for me, so I'm gonna hopefully read the full article, I'm sure, because there's a lot there. It's very interesting. Okay, but anyway, one thing he says I want to talk about is that starting November 1st, he goes back to November 1st of this past year, 2023, and he says the SPX and NASDAQ entered into a bullish trend that took them to new all-time highs because they were pricing in Powell's promises, the Fed's Jerome Powell's promises about future rate cuts, and because there was at the same time a liquidity injection as a secondary result of Janet Yellen's shifting the Fed's borrowing into treasury bills. Whereas he says that Bitcoin did not react in the same way. He says that Bitcoin is waiting on March 12th of this year, 2024, for news from the Fed as to whether the Bank Term Funding Program is going to be renewed. He thinks that Bitcoin is pricing in that it is not renewed on March 12th, and that this will create a crisis that will lead to the Fed ending up cutting rates as a reactive move to a crisis that occurs especially to the banks, I believe. He sees Bitcoin front-running the conventional indices at that moment, starting a strong bull run. But after finding a local bottom, which actually resonates with something I said in a very recent podcast episode, where I talk about Do Kwon. It's from, I think, the week before last. So, astrologically, I would like to say that March 12th, when the Fed decides whether to renew the Bank Term Funding Program, Mars is going to be at the exact degree that Venus was on November 1st, when the Fed moved its borrowing into T-bills. The moment that Arthur Hayes cites as the catalyst for the strong bull of the SPX and NASDAQ indices. On November 1st, Venus was at 28 degrees of Leo, and on March 12th, Mars is going to be at 28 degrees of Capricorn. Mars and Venus usually act against each other in price action, and in this case, actually, especially for Bitcoin, in my research. So, in this case, Mars's 8th aspect on Venus's previous degree is indeed likely to end the initiative that Venus began on November 1st when Yellen moved the Fed into T-bills. In my Bitcoin by 2026 book, which I wrote and published in 2022, I mentioned March 13th, the day after, as my predicted date for the Bitcoin halving to happen. And in my 2024 predictions book, there are some pretty interesting catalysts that I mention at the end of February and in March. You can also take a look at, just like I just said, at a recent podcast episode from, I believe, the week before last about Do Kwon and how the astrology of his coming trial date for the SEC versus Terra case relates to how Bitcoin price action will move in March. But I just think it's super interesting that the dates that Arthur Hayes is working with, which are corresponding to an action that the Fed took and then a future date where they're going to decide whether or not to renew the Bank Term Funding Program. Those dates directly correspond to the transits of Venus and Mars, and in a way that will definitely be moving the markets in a contrary way, right? So it's like what he's saying is that March 12th is going to reverse the catalyst that was given on November 1st. So March 12th will reverse that. And what I'm saying is that the astrology backs up what he's saying, because these two planets, Venus and Mars, in my research, especially for Bitcoin, typically will act to reverse the other one's action. So anyway, that's all for this week, and I will see you next week. Thank you.